Hey, Greg, nice to see you.
Good to see you too. And shocking news. We're talking about, once again, Facebook. It's barely a week that we can get by without talking about Facebook. But this week, they're making some other initiatives as far as a couple of things. The first one being the rebranding that we knew was going to be going on. They started off a while ago by saying it's Instagram by Facebook and WhatsApp by Facebook. But now they actually changed up what their logos are going to look like, how the branding is going to work, so that you're going to start seeing these. And they made that as a big marketing push this week, which is interesting for a couple of reasons. One, what they're trying to do is separate Facebook the app from Facebook the company, which seems weird. So they just put it out in all caps. So it's Facebook in all caps now. And it changes colors. Whoa. But that is to separate those brands out. I mean, it seems to me this is something that Facebook, and we've talked about it before, shouldn't be doing. Like, keep your marketing separate and keep that Facebook name away from Instagram, because you have people that I think still live in blissful ignorance, not knowing that Instagram's owned by Facebook, but now they want everybody to know about it. What do you think about this branding?
So actually, a Pew report came out earlier this year that basically specified that a very low percentage of Americans actually know that Instagram and WhatsApp are owned by Facebook. I was on vacation earlier this summer, and I was talking to somebody who said that she wouldn't use Facebook, but she uses Instagram. And I told her, like, wait, you know that is owned by Facebook, and she was shocked by that revelation. And this is actually a thing amongst, especially with Gen Zs and millennials, and they want to know who owns what. Like, there's a sense of ownership there, that who owns those apps, and this is just a way for Facebook to tie it all together. Some people suggested that this is all a way to kind of like avoid antitrust, the FTC. But realistically, this is also to counter any further allegations from the FTC over deceptive disclosures. This is partially what got Facebook dinged that $5 billion settlement earlier this year over their deceptive disclosures. And now this way, and sure, they had this whole, as you mentioned earlier, this Instagram by Facebook or WhatsApp by Facebook or whatever property, but this is actually going to be something more distinguishable and more official versus just having straight a text-based name mention of Facebook.
Right. So now it is going to be on there. We're going to start seeing this rolling out. So you will notice it. It's going to be more prominent. And that's one of the things this week. The other one is a report that Facebook is working on Face ID for your account, where you can unlock your account with Face ID. And that's something that on the surface, maybe that's something we see a lot of apps doing. A lot of phones do it, and we see Face ID. I think the issue here is that it's coming from Facebook, who just, I feel like, isn't quite understanding that they have this trust issue, that the populace doesn't really trust Facebook with a lot of data, and they've proven this by some of the issues that they've had. I mean, that mistrust has been earned, rather. And now that they could be rolling out this Face ID system, I just feel like that's also something that's counterintuitive, I guess, to what they should be doing.
Oh yeah, anything you mentioned with any involved in data and Facebook, people will scurry to the hills and freak out. But here's the thing: like they're rightfully they're right in terms of wanting to express concern over this. But let's be clear about this: that right now it's a test. This is an experiment by Facebook. This is not something that they've rolled out for the masses. This is also not the first time that they've kind of toyed with facial recognition. This is not actually facial recognition at all, according to Facebook. What they've told Notified Engadget about is that this is actually they're detecting motion. This is not scanning your face to provide a 3D scan of your face and storing it somewhere. This is just to detect motion. So it's almost like a modern version of CAPTCHA to avoid bots hacking into accounts or whatnot. So just the fact that you're moving your head left and right, up or down, or whatever need to satisfy their test. I mean, that's to show that an actual human being is using needs to gain access to that account.
Right. So but do you trust Facebook that that's really all this is about?
At first, no. I mean, certainly no. But I think their explanation it kind of takes a little bit of that outrage away from you. But look, yes, this is something for people to be worried about, and the fact that it's like, hey, anything about scanning your face or anything about you beyond using your login, this is something that people aren't going to necessarily be comfortable about. But look, this is an issue in terms of people getting access to their accounts versus when they get infiltrated by bots through phishing or whatever other cybersecurity issues that arise. This is another way for them to do that, and I think this is just one step forward in trying to make things easier for people that want to use Facebook, the remaining few that are still using Facebook. But I think this is, they certainly have to recognize that even though they say it's a test, this is going to be something they need to get out in front of more, right, and reassure people as they're talking about, we want to be transparent with people. We want people to feel comfortable using Facebook. These type of experiments, like, they need to get out in the forefront and do better in terms of helping people recognize how this technology is being used overall versus like, hey, we're launching this feature that uses facial recognition or some sort of gyroscope or scanning mechanism, and people get completely outraged and Facebook loses the news cycle.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of it's just deserved. It's that trust side of things. Like, even just me right there, I'm just like, nope, I don't want to do anything with a face scanning, even if it's just motion, even if it's just CAPTCHA. There's just something about it that's instantly mistrusting. By the way, in addition to being a podcast, we're broadcasting live on Facebook right now. Continuing on with a couple other stories here that we want to get you up to date with. And again, you can read more about all of these at Digital Trends or Flipboard. But Elon Musk making a pretty big announcement and kind of a surprise one. Definitely unexpected, where he's teasing that they are going to be debuting their Cybertruck, which is the Tesla, assuming it's the Tesla pickup truck that we've been long promised, on November 21st of this month, coinciding with November of 2019 was when Blade Runner actually took place. Yeah, Elon Musk is a big fan of Blade Runner, so I like that tie into it, but I'm interested to see what this is. I feel like it's a lot in response to a lot of other companies, some competition heating up when it comes to that all-important electric vehicle pickup range. We have Rivian, who's coming out with some pretty high-end products. You have Ford, who's going to have their F-150 at some point in the next year or two, no actual release date. So him moving this up, we don't know if we're going to get this as a sales date, whether it's just we're going to get to see what it looks like, but it's definitely exciting when it comes to electric vehicles.
So when that announcement was made, and you look at what the photo, whether it's a rendering or it's a teaser photo of what the Cybertruck looks like, look, as you mentioned, Elon's a big Blade Runner fan, and this is November, so we are now beyond Blade Runner. But that photo doesn't remind me of what watching the Harrison Ford version of Blade Runner. It actually reminds me more of Tron. It is, and so it's like, is he really a Blade Runner fan, or is he a Tron fan? I mean, this is he could be both.
His fandom.
It could be both. I don't know. It's either way. That I think the surprise. What we won't be surprised about is how much work they put into the design of the Cybertruck. It's going to look probably very similar to the other Tesla vehicles that they have in their line. But I mean, this is going to be like as we talked about earlier, and they were profitable in their last quarter. They had they teased this full auto drive mechanism,
right,
and also the Cybertruck, which would be almost at a price point that's equivalent to the Ford's F-150. So this is going to be something that people are anticipating. And hey, who knows? It's the holiday season.
Yeah. Do
you want to get a Cybertruck for the holidays? I mean, imagine the TV commercials now. Instead of getting your Buick or your Lincoln or your BMW, and right outside in your driveway with this nice little red bow is going to be a Tesla Cybertruck.
Cybertruck. I mean, I do like the name. All right, so we've got that. We've just got a couple of minutes left, but we wanted to get one more in here of something that's pretty big happening, and that's with T-Mobile. A couple of things. We know the T-Mobile Sprint merger is still ongoing. They received a lot of approval so far, but there's those lawsuits that are out there that are holding it back a little bit. But T-Mobile went ahead and announced that they're going to have their nationwide 5G network, pretty huge, launching December 6th. Is when they're saying this is going to be coming out. The first one, really the first communications company to announce a nationwide 5G rollout. What exactly that means, I think, is a little bit up in the air, but pretty big move on their part.
So it's very limiting, though. I mean, yes, they're going to be probably the first U.S. Nationwide carrier to roll this out to everybody. And right now, it's a kind of a battle in select cities. So they're very similar to AT&T and Verizon launching 5G services in select cities. Now, but again, when I say limiting, it's only T-Mobile only has 2 phones right now that support 5G. That being the Samsung Galaxy Note. And the Note 10 specifically, and there's a OnePlus 7T Pro 5G phone that's available now that is supporting 5G, obviously. So this is very, people won't be able to kind of really enjoy what's going on with 5G. But interesting enough, in terms of this Uncarrier event, everything is predicated on, as you mentioned, this Sprint merger going through. The FCC has approved it, but 15 or more than a dozen states are currently suing to stop this from happening. You know, they're worried about, you know, a potential monopoly or anti-competitive nature. And to kind of sweeten that deal, T-Mobile is kind of tossing out a lot of freebies, including giving a 5G unlimited data, unlimited text network to first responders, that the police, firefighters, and EMS. They're also willing to help subsidize broadband for 10 million underserved communities. So this is kind of like hey, this is going to happen, but only if you all approve the Sprint merger from happening. And so this is going to be very interesting how it shakes up in 2020. But you know, look, 5G's out there, it's coming. I don't think anyone's arguing about that, whether or not who's going to lead that pack, whether it's AT&T, Verizon, or T-Mobile/Sprint. That remains to be seen. But it really depends on what's going on and how many phones are out there. And I think the benefit for 5G is really going to be on the business end, on the enterprise. As for consumers, who knows? But I mean, that just makes our surfing the net faster. And you know, when you want to subscribe to Ken Plus, great, you're going to have a great experience on 5G.
Ken Plus coming soon to a 5G network near you. All right, well, that's what we've got on the T-Mobile 5G announcement, and there's a lot more to that too. But you can read more about it at Digital Trends and Flipboard. And I want to remind everybody too, if you're watching live, we are a podcast. Next week, we of course will be talking about Disney Plus debuting on November 12th. So stay tuned for that. We'll recap whatever happens next week, just like we do every week, keeping you up to date with everything going on in the world of technology. Ken, once again, thank you.
Lovely to be here. Thanks.